All right, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the Montessori Monster. We are looking at some grammar today. It's not introductory lessons, but some fairly beginning level grammar practice. There's a lot of different ways to teach that and talk about it. This is just one. So I'm going to look at this sheet here with some sentences. Hopefully you can see the sentence that says the bug crawls. And at this point, children would have had a little lesson about articles, nouns, and verbs. And then they often will do something like this where they're placing tiny little grammar symbols that they learn to in a Montessori classroom. The small light blue triangle represents the article. The large black triangle represents the noun. And because verbs show action, we use a red circle to represent the verb. And so they would do something like this. They would place these different pieces. Here's the box I'm working out of. And label their sentences with the grammar symbols that they think is right. They would do the whole sheet, and then they would have the teacher check them and see if they're right. And then they would sort of then just write them down. So just as that example, I'll write the bug crawls. So at the top of my page, I'm going to write grammar. One of the sentences that I'll do is the bug crawls, capital and period. And then we use these beautiful color pencils. In our case, we use ones that are meant for this. They're Montessori pencils. You certainly don't need to. These are more expensive. And then they make the shapes above the words. So the is an article, so that's represented in this system with a light blue triangle. Bug is a noun, so we need a larger, I almost did a adjective. I almost did, then we do this large, basically twice as big as the article triangle. Everything in the noun family is represented by triangles. So the adjective, when we would get to that. And crawls is a pretty big, round, red circle. It's really imprinted that that is an action. To crawl is an action. It's a verb. So the children would be doing something like this for multiple sentences and then turning it in to have it checked. Now, then another phase, they would get an introductory lesson on adjectives, but then in the coming weeks or months, they could be practicing starting to add an adjective. The big or the small bug crawls. So they're adding an adjective that describes bug in that sort of case. So, you don't want to overwhelm them with too many things at once. So they would have been practicing the articles, of which there's only 3 in English, and nouns separately, verbs separately, and then nouns and verbs together. You can make a sentence with just a noun and a verb. And then you really get into some good sentence structures with the article added in. And so this is a great way for children to start to see good ways to write complete sentences, because often in first or kindergarten, first, even second grade, they're writing in phrases. They're not making complete sentences enough, and that's kind of what they need to be working on, is writing complete sentences. So it could be to a young child, it feels random the way sentences are put together. But the more they practice grammar with these symbols, the more they start to see that there's a pattern to things. Often adjectives come before nouns, or article, adjective, noun, and that kind of sequence. But sometimes you could have the verb before the noun. Like you could say, "Run, children," and that, believe it or not, is a sentence. And there's the verb is in front. So there's a lot of different combinations, but they need to be practicing getting into the mechanics of all of this. They also, at the same time, concurrently, they could be learning subject predicate. So that's a whole different lesson, but they can learn what it means to have a subject and a predicate. Again, so that they can write better sentences, and their writing increasingly gets better. Very quick overview. There are many more lessons that go with the grammar works, but this is just some of what we practice in a Montessori classroom, and I have heard that it transfers well to the public schools and to the systems that don't use these colors. So I hope that's helpful as a little bit of an overview, and let me know if you want more on this area. I hope to do more, but the more feedback that I get, the sooner I would post those, I guess. So anyway, thank you for supporting the channel. Please do subscribe, like, leave comments, all that sort of thing. I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much.